Welcome to my parlor. Hi, I'm Priscilla Andrews with Prey Parlor, and today, in conjunction with tinypandora.com, I am bringing you a video on how to make coordinating canes with the same colors. Now, this project can be a little challenging, but I made sure that one of the canes was easier than the rest, or the other one, and we're using the color red for the main base color. Stay tuned, because after I show you how to make canes coordinate in color but still look differently, another one of the Tiny Pandora design team artists is going to bring you a project using these very canes as she makes them herself. So stay tuned. And if you want to make sure you don't miss the next video, subscribe below and hit that little dingy bell so that you're notified when you receive the next video. So, you ready? Let's get started. Well, let's get started on today's first project, which is the Kaleidoscope cane that is the first of two complementary canes. This is what I'm working off of, but it is not to scale exactly, so I'm just using it as a guide. The template in the PDF that goes with this will be accurate to scale for you. So let's start with the supplies that you're going to need to make this cane. One of the first things I do before we get started is we will be using red for filler. So I roll some red out and condition it and roll it out to about the third setting on the machine. I then take some red and I run it through my extruder at the triangle. The hexagon, this is the smallest hexagon shape that you have, and then in the medium-sized hole. I always start my cane on the right-hand side, probably because I'm left-handed, but I usually start my cane in the area that's going to need the most support as far as keeping the shape when you have all the pieces together. This is nice, but this is tricky. It's going to get squared off very easily. So I'm going to be building this side up of the cane first. To do that, I have this part right here, and now I need to make that part. I use this piece here, and I'm going to just pinch off the bottom. The red is on the inside, so we're just going to be bending it. I've pinched off the ends of the piece that I cut off. I'm trying to keep the red to the inside, but I'm also going to, because I don't want to lose the red, I'm going to just put a small cane of red with black on it. And because I want this to be part of a flower that's going to have kind of a tapered head, if you look at the template, it's not perfectly round because we don't want to have a too low flower, but I want a tapered head on it like that. In order to keep that shape, I take my triangle and I'm just going to place it right there in between those two. There, now that's going to hold the shapes of both of those. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to lay down this red piece here. We're going to accomplish that by cutting this piece in a little bit more than half, like that, because I want to keep a goodly amount of white in there as we manipulate this into the shape that we will be using. Let's open it up and thicken it first, make it wider. Piece here that goes there, but see how this one comes back, and we don't really have a way to do that with this. So what I do is that piece left from when we cut it in a little bit more than half, I will take a little bit of the red off here, and we are going to fit that onto the end of this one. So we'll put it down just a little bit here. And as I make it fit here, I notice that I have an open hole. Whenever you have an open hole like that, it's going to distort. So the best thing to do is to take, in this case, I'm going to take the octagon shape, and I am going to stick that in there. I like the octagon shape better than round ones because it has some straight sides and it's more apt to keep its shape in certain places because of some of the flatter sides here. So let's see if that fixes the problem. Putting this in a little bit lower than the blue, and there we go. It's just going to fit just fine in there. Now we're going to have to take another piece of red and put a little triangle on there. Now we are going to be putting some red up here so that this round piece has a nice place to sit. In order to make this transition as smooth as possible to keep the roundness of this shape here, we will have to do a step down from the triangle that we set there. So every one I make is different, so I have to take a look and see what's going to work as far as that's concerned. And it looks like if I put an octagon right here, and then if I put a small rope on each side of that, I think that'll give me a smoother transition so that I can keep that rounded shape instead of having it square off when I start reducing. Next part we're going to do is just the one striped half dome shaped piece on the bottom there. I want to do that so that I can keep the tail on this red part from moving around. So I'm going to take this, and well, the first thing I'm going to do is cut a little bit off of this corner here of this blue piece, because that's where that dome shape is going to come around. And remember, everything we do to fit the shape of the piece that's coming in is going to help everything keep its shape rather than get distorted as you reduce it. So now I'm just going to cut a piece off about that long, and then I'm going to pinch the ends of it together, the red on top. Hey, here I have stuck my little color band in there, and now that's going to keep this tail from here on this piece from losing its shape or getting lost. Now we are going to tackle this yellow piece here. So we're going to start by cutting a pretty good section of yellow off of here, because we are going to be stretching it out for quite a ways. So we're going to be needing all of that. Okay, I have the part that is going to be the yellow little curly Q thing right here. And you might ask, well, it looks black to me. This is supposed to be yellow with the white center. And I find it easier, rather than taking this and start stretching it out long by going this way, It works better for me to just roll it up and just flatten it out after rolling it out the length that I need it. Because then the easy part is that you make it a little bit higher than the pieces of the cane you have there. And you just take your tissue blade and cut the top of that cane off. Oh, that got real crooked. It slid out of my hands, but you still get the idea. So what you have here is your cane, and it was a lot easier to roll out. So what I'm going to do now is, well, I'm cut that off even, but I'm going to set this in the middle, and I'm going to work this a little bit narrower here so that I have more space. But according to the drawing, this starts down here above where we put the next piece of the tricolors. So I think we're doing pretty good so far. Okay, I have the yellow laid down here, and I went to put one of these triangles underneath there and realized that that was even too big. So I took a triangle and I cut it in half. So I have a smaller piece to press into there. And that will make our curve on the curly Q even more gradual and therefore less prone to distortion. So keep filling up this area until you get about to the end of this tip, and I will be back. Now you can see where I filled in the red down here, enabling this to rest on it and then be supported as it comes back up. And I have a triangle shaped piece of red placed in there to try and keep that junction nice and clean. And don't worry if it looks a little weevily or wobbly here and that line isn't perfect. It's all a reflection of the different softness of the clay. And when you get this reduced, those little variations are going to go away unless we control how we reduce it. Otherwise, they will just get exaggerated. So before we go in and start filling in the rest of the red, we have to do the fan fold part here. That's going to come down on top of the piece, another one of these that we have to put in here first. So we will take this again and pinch just one end this time, and that is going to be placed a piece about that high right there. So now we can work on this, and it needs to be shaped into almost a leaf shape like that. Now we have gotten the middle leaf in, and we're going to place one more piece here on the bottom, and we're going to start building up our red that's going to fill the rest of it. I'm almost there with the rectangle. What I have to do is pinch this end down now, because that's going to come down here and form the bottom, and then that will bring this up a little bit higher. So we just need to work on pinching one of these ends down, and then we'll fit that into place. Okay, we have now filled in a little bit of red in between here, and I'm going to go ahead and fill up this red first, and then fill this red up to here before we put the next part on. Before we fill this up anymore, it's time to put the red piece, it's a solid red piece with the black border right here, because what's going to happen, as you can see, this is supposed to curve a little bit here going this way, and unless we fill in this side, I'm going to be filling in this side, and it's going to unintentionally be pushing it that way. So we're going to have to fill in this one and then start filling in this side a little bit more than this. so that they come together like that. Okay, we have filled in this red, and now if you notice, according to the plan, we've wanted this line to be fairly straight across the top here, and it looks like I'm a little off. So what I'm going to do is do a quick measure. And the great thing about this is that because we have everything lined in black, even though we have this yellow corner here that has to go there, it's lined in black too. So what that means is we can take this and we can just cut it off. Now we have that yellow one in the corner there. So all we have to do here is go ahead and cut this like that. And now we have room for our yellow corner. It's my cane. I can do what I want, right? We have our yellow corner on, and now we're going to start putting the red and white parts across the top here. I've been adding the red pieces here with the white centers, and this is one area where the cane benders come in really handy, or I'm sorry, the square pairs, because they help me make some nice straight edges where I need them to be. And we'll use them more later too. What I'm going to do now is start building this up on this side. So what I did is I took the fanfold cane and I made it into the kind of a C shape like we have in the diagram here. And then I put one of the canes in the center of it. And this is going to go right here. And I think that's pretty accurate to the diagram. Now the second thing we need to do is to bring this piece of red in here. And so what I did is I have a piece of red cut out, and I have to find a way to make that red come wrap around up there. So I'll probably be using a cane bender for that, I'm guessing. So I'm going to get to shaping. On second thought, as I lay this in here, I kind of like how it looks. Just that nice round shape with all of these other shapes going on. So I'm going to change that from this shape to this one. And I'm going to find a way to work around it. But I have some spaces I have to figure out how I'm going to fill those in. So I'm going to start with one of my triangles here. And see if that's what would work the best right here. And it looks like that's gonna do it. I'm sorry I didn't take you along on my journey to finish the cane. I think I need a new recorder because it keeps shutting itself off. So I went and filled in this part, and I did this differently than the plan because when I laid that circle there to start reducing it, I liked how the circle just sat there by itself. And so I went and I filled in some spaces with red, and I added a couple white canes there to break up the red when the canes are together, when they're reduced and they're together. So you have a little white to break that up. And the only other change I made was right here, I decided to alternate the type of Skinner blends instead of going with the solid red. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I hope this helped you understand why we do the things we do and how we do them and with what in mind when we make a kaleidoscope cane. So this cane is finished.